Thanks for joining me for this new webinar. My name is Lionel Palassin and I'll be your host for this today webinar. Today we're gonna discuss and we're gonna see how we can actually build custom widgets with Bonita, and I would like to show you basically a framework and a repository that we made available for the community. So basically, I'm gonna start by a small presentation about what is a custom widget, what are the different tools available to build the custom widgets, and I'm gonna try to keep it as short as possible so we can spend the most time possible on actually working with the framework to build a custom widget today together. So the session is being recorded and will be made available for all of you after the session. And if you have any question, don't hesitate to ask them in the GoToWebinar chat, and I will take some time at the end of the session to answer all of them. Also, if you have issue to see my screen or with the audio, don't hesitate to let me know, and I try to see what I can do on my side. All right, let's begin. So first, what is a custom widget? As you probably know, the Bonita platform is composed of different tools, and one of them is the UI designer, which is being used to build process forms, task forms, and application pages. It's using AngularJS and Bootstrap technology, and you can basically drag and drop widgets to compose and describe your page. So here you have a screenshot of the UI designer, and on the main screen, on the main white screen, this is where you actually design your form. You are using the widgets that are coming from the left panel. So those are the out-of-the-box library of widgets, and here you can configure any element of your page. So what is a widget? Basically a widget, here we have a few examples like a date picker, upload widget, radio button. A widget is here to fulfill one functionality that's going to be used in your form. And for that, you use a controller right in AngularJS to describe the behavior of a widget, and a template to describe the visual part of the widget. So it's really based on the AngularJS structure. So a widget it's actually a directive controller, is the AngularJS code, and the template is the HTML template. As we knew that we were not going to be able to cover all the use cases that developer can come up with, we provided out-of-the-box library of widgets. The subscription version has more widgets available, more complex widgets. But we also designed the UI designer to create an extension point so developer can create their own widget from scratch. What they have to do is to provide the right format for the controller and the template and import it in the UI designer. And the UI designer is actually supporting custom widget, which means that if you create a custom widget and have it available in your UI designer, you can actually use it as a out-of-the-box widget. You can just drag and drop it from the palette to your form, and it will be available if you click on that button. So if you click on that button, it will display the list of your custom widgets. So when do you need a custom widget? So I try to go a little bit more details about what could be the possible cases where you need a custom widget. And here what I found is basically when you need a functionality that is not covered by the existing widget. Let's say you want to display a map on your form, and we don't have a widget map as of today, so you will have to create a new widget to display a map. So that will be the basic common use case, and in 90% of the use cases, you will be in that case. You just want a new functionality that is just not available today. Second use case is you want to extend the behavior of an existing widget. So let's say you are using the button widget and you want to tweak the behavior or to change it. You can do it by creating a new custom widget. And the two orders are a little bit more subtle. Sometimes you actually want to add advanced form functionalities to your page, but it's not necessarily a visual functionality. Maybe you want to have like some complex calculation or data parsing functionalities that actually depend on other AngularJS module. And in that case, you can actually create a custom widget and just focus on the controller part, not the visual part. You can leave it blank, and you will be able to use functionalities this way. It's really interesting if you actually want to depend on another AngularJS module, because when you design a page, at the page level, you have no way to tell that your page depends on another AngularJS module. So if you want to add the dependencies and use that dependency in your JavaScript expression in your page, you won't be able to do it. So to do that, you have to create a custom widget, and there in the custom widget edition, you can specify what are the AngularJS modules that custom widgets depends on. And you can then use the functionality of this dependency. So let's take a look to what we have today. So by default, we have a custom widget editor in the UI designer. So here is a screenshot of this custom widget editor. It's a web-based editor, and there you have all the information on one page of the widget you are currently creating. So you have the template, which is HTML code. You have the controller, which is JavaScript. Here you have the list of assets, so CSS, JavaScript, and so on, that your custom widget depends on. Here you can list the Angular modules that the custom widget requires. And finally, here you can describe all the inputs for your custom widget. So that's great. Let's take a look to what is good about it and what can be improved. So first, what's interesting? So it's already custom widget editor is already integrated in the UI designer. It's web-based. It's there, ready to be used. It's neat. It's fast. It works perfectly. You can actually develop directly in the web browser, so you don't need another tool again to create new custom widgets. Each time you build a new custom widget, it's automatically available in the forms that you are currently designing in your UI designer. Each time you make a change, it will automatically update all the pages that are using this widget. So you can have one screen displaying the form builder, one screen displaying the custom widget editor, and just make a change on the custom widget, refresh the preview, and you will see your change. And finally, when you want to create a new custom widget, we provide an example, so you don't start from scratch. What can be improved? First, AngularJS is a real framework, so it has been designed to actually build robust code, and therefore there is a whole unit testing framework around AngularJS, which is really powerful, but cannot be used if you use a custom widget editor as of today. There is no industrialization, no version control. If you want to exchange custom widgets with other members of your team, you have to export the zip file, and he has to import it back in his UI designer. With the subscription edition, we have SVN in place, so the code can be synchronized with the version control, but not with the community edition. And finally, I listed as also a cons. It's you develop in the browser. For some developers, it might be an issue. For other developers, it's actually an advantage. So that's why I listed in both lists. If you want to use your favorite IDE using the custom widget editor, you can't. So this is why we came up with another alternative solution, and that's what we're gonna focus on today. It doesn't mean it's better or it's than the custom widget editor. It's just another way, and it's basically to give you guys alternative tooling when it comes to build custom widgets. And we're gonna call it the Bonita Widget Repository. So it's basically a repository available on the Bonita Soft Community GitHub, and it contains two big parts. First one is tooling to implement, test, and deploy widgets. So you will be able to implement your widget using an external tool, any IDE. And in the repository, you have command line tooling to build the widget, test the widget, deploy the widget in your UI designer. And then the second part of it is basically a repository to share your creations with other community members. So if you go already today to this GitHub repository, you will see a few creation already of custom widgets, and you can download them, use them as you wish, and you can also contribute your own creations. So how do we use that repository? So we're gonna focus on that during the demo, but here are the high-level commands. So basically, first you need to clone the project locally from the GitHub, or if you want to contribute, you can fork it and then clone it locally. That's why I did today. I forked the project and I cloned it already. Then you have to set up the project. So it's a node-based project, so you need to run the npm install command to download all the dependencies. I already ran that command today, so I have a repository ready to be used. Then you can build all of the widgets by running the npm run build. It will actually take the source code of all the widgets and create zip files for each of them that are ready to be imported in the UI designer. And then you can deploy your widget locally using npm run deploy. If you want to build a new widget, here's what you would have to do. It's basically write a controller AngularJS to describe the logic of your widget, write the template HTML to describe the visual part of your widget, import all the assets that your widget depends on, describe the widget, so for the name, the property, the modules, the assets using a JSON format. That descriptor is actually described and documented in the Bonita Widget Repository, if you are wondering what are the options to describe the widget. And finally, you have to write unit tests to make sure your widget is robust. Then, what if I want to contribute? So that's a great news. If you want to actually share with the other community members the creations, you will have to follow a few guidelines, because basically we want to make sure that the widgets hosted on that repository are good quality. So here is high-level guidelines. We have a contribution guidelines in the repository with more details. So if you're interested, just go read those guidelines in the GitHub repository. But quickly, common sense, it's write clean and documented code, document, describe the behavior of your widget, respect licensing. If you import assets from other people, make sure the license allows you to do that. Write unit tests so your widget is robust. Then you can create pull requests to share your contribution. One of the moderator of the GitHub repository will review it, give you feedback, or merge it back to the master branch. One important point is contribution are not only to share new widgets. It's open for anything. You can improve other people's widgets. You can improve the framework. You will see the tooling is working, but there is a lot of room for improvement. So feel free to share your ideas. Yeah, basically, everything you think can improve the repository are welcome. We really want to make this repository for you and build value, basically. And finally, all the widgets, we will try to release on a regular basis the widgets so they are easier to download. So it's basically make a zip version of the widgets available on the repository so you can just download it and use it. All right, let's go to a quick demo. So basically what we're gonna do today is build a new widget called a custom weather widget. So first, I'm gonna push that here. So I have my a studio here with the UI designer. So it's a completely empty studio. I just open it, so I have nothing. And here I clone basically my contribution widget repository. So if I open it with Atom, we will see the structure of the repository. So I'm gonna close all the others file. And here I have my contribution widget demo. So basically what I did is I clone the GitHub repository. So just to compare, if we go on the web, on the GitHub repository, here on the Bonita Community, we have our contribution widgets, and that's basically the structure. So I basically download this structure and I run npm install, so it download all the node modules that my project depends on. In that project, I have a README file where all the commands available and the widget structure are documented. And I have my contributing file where the guidelines to contribute are described. Then in the script folder, I have all the scripts used by my framework to build the widget and to deploy them. And in my source folder, I have all the widgets available. So first, if I run the command npm run build, I will have all the widget builds in the dist folder. So here I have a zip version of all the widgets available. Then I can run npm run deploy all, and it will actually take all those zip files and deploy them in my local UI designer. So if I go back to my UI designer and I refresh, now I have my 6 widgets available. So what we want to do today is let's see how we can actually build our own widgets. So we'll try to make that as quick as possible, so I leave some time for questions. So I already prepared most of the code that we're gonna use today, but I'm gonna still going through the different steps to build the new widget. So first, I duplicate the custom widget. So I use that one because it's the most simple one, and it covers most of the use case. So I can use it basically as an example. So it's my working base. So now I have my custom widget. I can see the structure that I described during the presentation of a widget. So I have my controller, where I describe the behavior of my widget. I have the template, where I describe the visual part of the widget. I have the descriptor JSON, where I describe the name, all the properties, the assets, required module, and so on. Then I have a folder for the assets. Here I have only CSS, but I'm gonna add a JS file. I have a folder for my test, and here I have the images folder that is used by the README to provide screenshot of the widget. And finally, in the README, this is where I can describe how the widget works, basically. So let's see how we we can build our own widgets. So what I want to do is build a widget, a custom weather widget, which will display the weather for a specific city that we provide. So first, I need to provide a descriptor. So I already prepared some code here. I'm just going to copy past it and explain to you what this is about. So let's see. I'm going to copy past it. Hopefully it's going to work. Okay. So here I describe the properties. So I have a city. So that's going to be the city we're going to display the weather for. I have an app ID. Here basically we're going to use a external API called Open Weather Map. It's available for anyone who wants to use it. It's basically an API to gather data about the weather. But it requires a key app ID when you use the API. So you just need to register on their website and you get the app ID. And I'm going to provide the units. So either I want to display the weather using the metric system or the imperial system. Then I describe that I have two assets. So one is for Bootstrap, basically. So Bootstrap is the visual part. And one here is an abstraction for Angular for the specific open weather map API. So it basically gives me like AngularJS function that will abstract the call to this external API. And finally, I describe that my widget depends on two modules, Open Weather Map and UI Bootstrap. So I said I have two assets. Basically, I have to add them here. So I'm going to do that quickly. Here for the event, I saved my two library. And I'm going to copy them over my widget. So here, widget custom weather. I'm going to create a new folder called JS and copy my two widgets. So here now, if I refresh, I have my two dependencies. Nice. So I did that. Now I need to describe the behavior and the visual part. So we're going to start by the visual part. So here again, I already created some code. So basically what I do, I have to save that one. Basically what I do is, say I have a panel. On the panel header, I have an input and a button. In the input, I can enter the city I want to display the weather for. And on the button, I will call a method from the controller, say change city. So basically refresh the data for the weather for the specific city. And on the body part, I basically display different information for the weather for the specific city. Then on the controller, basically what I need to do is call this specific Open Weather Map API. So the controller is pretty simple. It's just a function, a global function called weather controller. Here you provide the scope of your widget, and here we provide a entry point, an accessor to my Open Weather Map API. And the code is pretty simple. We just check, depending on the units, if we display the temperature in Fahrenheit or Celsius. Then here, we use the Open Weather Map factory. Each time we call the change city button to say, here, can you give me the weather for this specific city using that specific unit, so imperial or metric. Here my API key to access information, and I will store the data in the local variable, and that variable is used by the templates to gather the necessary data. All right, at this point, we have something that should work. So what we can do now is try to deploy this specific widget. So we have a command for that using npm. We can say npm run deploy -- widget. So we provide the name of the widget we want to deploy, and we add two other options. The first one is to say that if a widget the same name is already present, just override it. And the watch one is very interested. It's basically keeping the process alive, and each time I will make a change, it will redeploy the widget. So really interesting because it kind of simulates the same behavior than the custom widget editor, including in the UI designer, meaning that I can have on one screen my UI designer on the preview mode using one of my custom widgets. I can make a change directly in the code. The watch function will automatically redeploy my widget, and the change will be available on my preview screen. So by running a command, I also deploy the custom weather widget. So let's take a look to my UI designer. I should have a new widget. Oh no. Interesting. Did I deploy it? Oh, I deployed widget. Okay, so maybe I have an issue. Let's see. Oh, that not okay. I forgot to rename that part. I use same ID than custom widget. So now it should work better. Yeah, deployed weather. Okay. Let's check here. Refresh. Okay, I have a new custom widget. I can click on it, and I can open it actually in the custom widget editor. So really interesting. I can see the code here. So that is compatible. And let's see if I want to test it now. So I'm gonna create a page. I'm gonna call it test weather, where I will use my custom widget. So here, to access the custom widget list, I have to click on that specific panel, and it displays all the custom widgets. So I have my weather widget here. I can just drag and drop in it. And I have the layout here. Here I can add a city. I would have it done differently. Or I can leave it blank probably. And I can add the app ID. So I have my app ID here. And let's see if it works. Let's say for Paris. So for Paris, it didn't work. So let's take a look to the code. Maybe I did a mistake here. It'd be better with an expression probably. And let's see if that app ID meet with our API key. So maybe I should rename that thing too. Okay. So the widget has been redeployed. I'm gonna refresh this guy. Now I can say Paris here. I can provide my app ID. I can save. And on the preview, let's see now if it works better. Okay. Now I can get the weather for Paris. I can change it for Dallas, for New York. Okay, it should work. So I have all my information, and each time I click on change city, I can change the weather. one interesting thing is if we want to add more information. Let's say I want to add information about the humidity. So first, if you want to get information returned by the API widget, you can here inspect the Chrome browser and get the result of the Open Weather Map API call, and to use that data and display it directly on my phone. So here I have the results. I can display it in JSON editor online and see how it looks. That's where I get the temperature mean, temperature max. I already displayed the pressure, I already displayed the speed of the wind. And I want to add the humidity information. So pretty easy. You can directly go in the code, copy, let's say this line, say humidity, it's probably percentage. And now, if everything works okay, as soon as I save and I come back here, if I refresh this guy, I should see the humidity directly added. So I can say Paris, and I have my humidity. So the watch functionality is really efficient for that. Okay, now we have a widget that is working. What else do we need? We need now to implement unit tests to make sure my widget is going to be robust. So by default here I copy basically the unit test from the custom widget with the custom widget example. So I want to use my own test for this custom weather. So again, I prepare some code here, and I'm going to copy it over. Okay, so what do we do here? Basically, say we describe the widget weather. Here, because we are using external functionality, we mock the call to the Open Weather Map factory, and we return dummy data. Then we mock all the others modules, and we inject them to my custom widgets. And finally, we described here unit tests. So I implemented only one unit test here, is to test, should be that, to test that according to the unit that we pass to the widget, we display the right information. So here I can take a look to say that if it's imperial, it shouldn't be Celsius, it should be Fahrenheit, basically. And we can test that. So let's do a quick test. I can close that and run the command npm test. And npm test will actually run the test for all the widgets. So we can make that bigger. And we can see like all the tests passed. Let's say if we try to make the test fail, we say the units are metric and not imperial. Let's see how it behaves. And here it tells me that the weather should display correctly flag failed because it provided the wrong answer. The unit test, I got to say, is not easy to masterize, to master. It took me a while to understand how to work with it, how to mock up the external functionality. It's not easy to understand, but it's really powerful to make your widget really robust. Don't hesitate to look at other widgets, for example, custom file upload widgets implement a lot of tests that are really interesting. So if you want to have some inspiration, don't hesitate to look at the others widgets. Finally, when you're all done with your widget, the last thing you have to do is edit the README. So here you will have to give a right description saying that this is a widget to display the weather for a specific city. It uses Open Weather Map API to get weather information. You can add actually the website for the Open Weather API. Here you can describe basically the different attributes. Saying this is the city to display the weather, and so on. So basically you have to describe how other people can use the widgets. I would recommend to add a screenshot, so you actually kind of like tease a little bit the people who wants to use your widget. If you have a nice screenshot of your widget, you will be more likely be used by other people of the community members. And then when you're all ready, you can create an issue first on the GitHub repository saying, hey, I have a new widget, and then create your pull request, and your pull request will be reviewed, and moderator will give you feedback. So that's all for me. I hope you got a pretty good understanding of how to use the custom widget repository that we have available on the community. Again, this is not tooling to replace the custom widget editor that is available on the UI designer. It's just another way to work with custom widget to build new interfaces. Some people will like it better, some other people won't. It has pros and cons also. It's your decision, depend on how you're building custom widgets, to use one tool or the others. That one is really more targeted for community collaboration to build a really great custom widget that will benefit every other developers who are using Bonita Soft. So if you have any question, let me know and I'll try to answer them. So I have a question about, is it possible to create own widgets also in the Bonita Community Edition? Yes, so in the Bonita Community Edition, the custom widget editor in the UI designer is available by default, so you can use that. And the repository, the GitHub repository with its own tooling is also working with the community. It's mainly designed actually to be used by the community. I have another question, which is, can we import in the Bonita widget repository a widget developed or edited with the custom widget editor? So you cannot do it easily. The issue is when you export a widget from the UI designer, it will export it as built, so it's a zip file, and all the controller and templates are kind of put together. So you have to extract basically all the code to put it back in a nice fashion to be used with the Bonita widget repository. So it's doable, but it's not easy. Which version of AngularJS is being used? So basically AngularJS that we are using is 1.5, if I remember correctly. And and it should be compatible with pretty much all the version of AngularJS. The only thing that won't be compatible with is Angular itself. So the 2.0 version of AngularJS is actually called Angular, so you cannot really mix them up. So it's AngularJS for the 1 and Angular for the 2, and we are not using Angular 2.0. What are the compatibilities with different versions of Bonita? So basically, the framework provided by the repository should work with any version of Bonita 7. Sorry. The only thing is starting on Bonita 7.4, I think the dependencies for Bootstrap, so this one, is not added automatically to any widgets, any custom widgets in the UI designer, so you have to add it if you want to use it. Prior to 7.4, it was automatically added to any custom widget, so you just have to be careful with that if you want to use Bootstrap. Make sure that you don't forget to use the dependency. Also, can we use another framework than Bootstrap or Angular? So Angular, no, you have to use, I mean, this is designed to be used for AngularJS that follows the structure of a directive in AngularJS, so it won't be possible. As far as Bootstrap, yes, Bootstrap is just a look and feel kind of framework. It's a way to really ease the usage of CSS. And by default, that's what we recommend because this is all the Bonita portal and all the other forms are built using Bootstrap. So if you use another framework, it might look like a little bit different, but it's totally doable. You just have to import the right assets in your custom widget to use another framework. Okay, if I don't have any other question, I will close the webinar. But again, the recording will be available for you after the webinar. And if you have any other question, you can go to our forum and ask your questions. Yeah, no other questions. So thanks for your time, guys, today. I wish you a good afternoon or good night, depending on where you are in the world. I have other upcoming webinar in July, 25 and 27. We're gonna talk about blockchain with Bonita. So 25 is the session will be in English. On 27, the session will be in French. So don't hesitate to go on the bonitasoft.com website and register for the blockchain session. Thanks for your attention, and I wish you a great day, guys. Bye-bye.